welcome. Welcome in. Check it out, brother. Check it out. So, man, I'm going to kind of give a little update on what this brother's been doing. So, we got done writing a few pages. Look how bright it is in here. Whoa! Anyway, we got done writing a few pages, and I'm getting to this point now where it's really hard to continue sometimes. Sometimes you just like work on things and you really try your best to keep this vision in your head, even though at halftime they don't know what the motherfucking vision is. Boop, boop. And oh jeez, dude, I just have so much to ponder about this fucking thing. Seemingly, we're trying to connect. Let me see. Yes, okay. 15. And this is from 6. We're looking at work. So this year that I'm in is 2024, almost 2025. And the fucking work that I'm finally starting to really implement is from 2015. It's like trying to keep all this shit straight has been quite a arduous task. Maybe I won't be that short. Maybe I'll be a little taller. I don't really know how to put it into a lot of words, but it's like, in some ways, this story has been in the making since 2012, as I've said before. So a lot of the aspects of it, I got it all out. And by 2021, I got it all out. And now I'm going back in time slowly to go forward again. So the things I've come to realizations at certain points of the book, I have to re-examine them from the past. So I have these old journals that I made. I've showed you them before. Whoever the hell you are, I don't even know. I have these composite notebooks. And I do a lot of my stream of consciousness writing. That's where I develop that style. From that point, I'm kind of going off of these things and connecting them to the mythology that I'm unraveling in the life that I've been living. But somehow it's somewhat poetic in a sense of there's this premonition prophecy to it. Like, I wrote this shit a long time ago, and I've been building to get to what I wrote a long time ago. How would you word that? It is like a prophecy. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You made it for yourself to live up to. You could call it a goal or whatever, but it's much bigger than that. But somehow, in the writing of these journals, did I seal my fate in some sense in what I would realize and what I would come to learn about, what I would come to realize in the life that I would live. So the shit I wrote at that time would inform that stuff that I've noticed along the way from that point. So it's like you created the room for yourself to enter. Yet it's somehow lucid enough and somehow undefined in such a way that I can take it anywhere if I please. So, there's a video I made called, I think it's the Forgotten Kings series, and it's, which one was it? Was it the Keepers? I think it was a video about the Keepers. And I made mention of this place that exists, and it goes into the mind of God. Well, as I told you in the previous video, Eris's premonition was he re-examined a dream he had where he could come face to face with his God. He had that dream. He didn't understand it. Then his mentor helped him go back into that dream and re-examine it again. So that happened. Now, again, remember, he's inside this ruin. He's already been in that twice in a dream, And in a vision, now he's got to, in real time, find this place. Like, there you go, you've had it, it's somewhere inside of you, but you got to find it in the world around you. And the only way to go forward to find it is to, in this ruin, go down these long descending stairs. The stairs of why, remember? Why are we doing this? Why is this happening? Why did you get to the point where you don't understand? He's got to get all the way down to the bottom of this, and in some ways, find his way through the area that was called the Hall of the Guardians. The long, dark stairway of madness and fear. Dark thoughts cloud your being and are brought forward when you must face them. And it's a place of enlightenment and pain. And you go down these long winding stairs. Anyway, you go down these long winding stairs of the doubt, of the why, and you open up to the point of self. Through that point of self, you're able to, it becomes a labyrinth. So now, Eris has come out of these crazy visions about what he's got to do, and all of a sudden now he's got to go in a fucking labyrinth. And it threw me. I was like, damn, I don't know, man. Is this too much? Is it too much? Is it too much? And I'm messing around with stuff. I'm moving things around. I'm trying to form it in my head. And I told you I hand wrote like, 6 pages or something of a chapter that I call The Descent. It's a good start. Needs a lot more work. I know it. But what I have to realize is, what's he going to meet down in this labyrinth of his own mind? Keep in mind, he was transcended. In his visions, in some way, it seems to be he was open to the realization of the place that he must discover. But in order to get to that place, he has to transcend. He has to descend down into his own very being in an external sense, in the outside world. From the outside world, he will have to venture into the deepest, darkest parts of himself. Now, I really forget, I apologize if it's the Forgotten King series, if it's the one about the Keepers or the one about the Forgotten People. I can't quite remember which one it was that I made mention of how, in doing this, you are coming to terms with the archetypal God before you, the one that's within you. He himself is like... So, man, okay. I have this theory, right? It's not anything I need attention about, but just to kind of tell you where I'm going. I said, what if our consciousness, our human consciousness, what if that is a thought form, as we would understand egregores to work? What if this is some sort of, I guess you could say, you could think like in Star Trek almost, it's like this being that can inhabit us, and it kind of flows through us, and there's different types of them, there's different races of them, there's different ideas of what they are, and they invoke different things, and they have different levels, different experiences, different things they want to experience from high to low, and they all come from sources. These sources are what we misinterpreted as old gods or angels or shit like that, and those are fragmentary parts of a higher God. Are you following me? The consciousness that is within us is fragmented pieces of what we could consider fae folk, angels, and demons, as well as old gods. Those are archetypes that serve as different things that these little consciousnesses come from. Those of themselves are the archetypes of the higher God than them, the advanced being that exists beyond. Okay? That might fucking sound insane, but this is the mythology I'm working on. As Eris transcends down into the depth of his inner being, he has to come face to face with this realization that his own very consciousness isn't necessarily his own consciousness. A lot of our understanding as if anyone else is with me on this, a lot of my understanding is, the more I explore consciousness, the more I realize there's a bunch of you inside of you. And one day one rises to the surface, and then another day another rises to the surface. It all kind of depends on what motivated them or activated them or whatever. And these are different beings. So I always say that you're writhing with many beings inside of you. Many personality types, as you would say nowadays, in a modern sense. These things act of their own accord, though you yourself are free to choose what you run. Think of it like you are the hardware, and these consciousness types, personality types, archetypes, are software. And it affects the way you view your world. It's the way I've been experimenting with it is, I break it down to this: culture, philosophy, politics, religion, and I think that's it. I think those are just the four that I break it down, right? I break it down to those four. Man stuff. There's more, there's a lot to it, but just bear with me, okay? Those three things I consider of man, and those are the things that the thought forms can attach to. They're like beacons of ideas. Those of themselves can grow thought form ideas, and they can become manifesting of themselves. And I say, well, my experiment was that consciousness is a thought form in and of itself. So what I've done is I've pulled myself away from all of that, and now I feel kind of empty. I kind of feel like of just my own. People do things, people say things to me, I don't even feel it. You know, I don't feel other people's anger about something they care about. I don't, because I've pulled myself from it. I distanced myself from it. So that's how I know that there's something inside of these thought forms that make you give a fuck. Whether that's being an American, whether that's being, you know, Protestant, or, I don't know, a Stoic. It's up to you, whatever you choose you want to be, but that's determining your being. And so you're finding the archetypes of it, and the higher archetypes are what we ignore now because we're afraid of the word gods in our scientific adventures. We don't see that as anything relevant anymore. We like to use human archetypes. So you always hear people quoting Freud, Nietzsche, Jung, sometimes Alan Watts I hear, sometimes certain scientists like Einstein and fucking that one guy that was like, had a robot voice, Hawking, Stephen Hawking. People like to quote these and they become the archetypes of the ideas because their theories are what, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so in many senses, I just think that those are fragmentary parts of some higher thing that we can't necessarily understand. Now, I don't go about this in a scientific way where I'm like, in my books, I'm exploring it so you can see for yourself. Like, no, I don't care to fucking convince people of shit. I don't live that life. If you want to like listen to what I say and go like, wow, that's cool, that's fine. If you don't want to hear it or you don't agree with it, that's fine too. You know, I don't give a shit. The idea is I'm trying to transcend this fucking human shit. So, with Eris, going down through this labyrinth, that labyrinth is a representation in my mind of this human experience. But I'm like conflicted of how far I should go in this book about this shit. I don't know. I don't know if I really need to. Within the labyrinth, he is confronted with all the different consciousnesses that may ride within him that seek him to do some sort of prophetic thing. You're meant to do this. You're meant to do that. You're supposed to save these people. No, you're not. You're supposed to free these ones and all this shit. I wondered if that was some sort of thing that he needs to go through. I guess I've battled against that because I'm like, is this too early? We're in book 2. I imagine by this point in book 2, like where we're at, you're halfway through the book, the second book of the series. Is this too sudden? Because I planned on doing what I'm talking about in book 3. Right? How did that work? Either book 3 or book 4. I finally planned on really getting you inside of this. So, in some sense, I have to kind of make it an amalgamation. I have to make it kind of like a lot. as if you walk into a room and you're met with powers that you don't understand, and you're met with all these different things that you can't grasp. But by book 3 and 4 you might. But right now it's just like a bunch of people talking at the same time, an amalgamation of voices. What can you pluck from that? So the biggest thing Eris has to go through in this labyrinth, deep, deep miles down from this great temple, which the temple is, it translates to the long dark doubt or something like that. The darkened doubt. I don't know. But that's the name of the temple. It's a training place where the keepers would train to come to terms with the deepest part of yourself. And that way you can become the beacon for what comes next. And so you go down these stairs of doubt, and that's where you shed everything. You must shed it and get rid of all of the fucking things that you thought you knew. So in some sense I have to go back and really look at that. But then when you open up to this labyrinth, obviously in the old days you would know it's a labyrinth, but as Eris, he doesn't really necessarily understand because it's derelict. And he has to, after he's shed all that, he has to be confronted by all the consciousnesses that writhe within him. So it says how this shit works. When you're down in that area and the consciousnesses, how they can access from their hiding place beyond the astral realm. This process began with the understanding of the love-fear spirits. When one has accepted such a reality, only then do they become an open vessel for the projected keeper. For it is on the other side the keeper awaits to transcend and project his body through the astral and into the conduit. The conduit being open and willing will then accept this spirit and live further through the code. Though this process is not foolproof, the accepted keeper can in time become corrupted, and there that the keeper indeed could fall from the path. But before we discuss the fall, okay, we should discuss the spirit. Now, this spirit is not is not the consciousness of, or soul of the AOC from beyond the astral realm. This spirit is what we can understand the manifested emotion that lay fragmented from Owapake himself. And there's other ideas. So Eris has to open himself to this. Now, in his vision that he had before this, he was confronted by an ancestor who might be a keeper. And the ancestor is like, you got to purge some darkness from you. That's what you have to do. And that was the whole point of Eris going through that dream. He needed to rid that. And when he did that, it's like, okay, now you got to find this sacred place that you're prophetically meant to do. And since you're prophetically meant to do that, you have to open your door to become the vessel. You want to know what it is? You have to be the conduit of all the emotions that writhe from Owapake, your creator. In order to confront Dove, why do you have to confront as Owapake, what would be in our book, Prometheus? Why do you have to confront Prometheus when you already met your own god? Well, there's a story thing, and you know, I think, you know, it's always ethereal. I can't necessarily say this is all going to stay the same, and I'll never change it. But that's kind of where I'm at right now in the writing. So I've gotten to the point where I hand wrote his descent. I really need to focus on it a little more and kind of help him shed some doubt. I really need to do that so I can let the reader in on that. And the labyrinth is where it'll open up. It becomes the vessel for all these things. And as they hit them, it's misinterpreting. It's hard for him to truly grasp this shit. So you have to kind of go down to this cave, into this deep, deep dwelling place. And in my mind, it is very much influenced by the Tuatha De Danann of Irish literature. And how they were kind of, I guess you could say, forced into these shees, these underground dwelling places that lead to other worlds. I like to believe that there's some consciousness at foot in that sense, and that it can be gained. But to me, the idea of the cave, as it's kind of explored in Celtic legends and stuff, and as we've talked about it before when it comes to Plato's allegory of the cave, it serves a greater purpose into what we're after. It's the deepest part of the self. Inside of that, you have to start determining what are the emotions that you would like to allow to affect you. So as my character Eris, I have to kind of think about what consciousness is he willing to accept within himself. And there will be a difficulty for him in trying to infer the difference between himself and the archetypes that come from that. He has to start to learn how to manage all of this. You are your own living being, your own living person. And if we believe that in this crazy theory that I'm talking about, inside of you are a writhing consciousness that can be connected to all other people. You can do in real time. But all of them are some sort of beings we could think of as thought forms that can be accessed. And these things are tethered to what the ancients would call the gods. Those things themselves are tethered to something even higher. And so your consciousness needs to be invoked by looking at archetypes. That's why we're so fond of them archetypes and fond of the old gods, is because they're ideals. They represent things. When you speak of old gods, they represent, they always have, you know. Why is it always fertility, war, and lovemaking, and fucking debauchery, and drunkenness, or whatever it is? Like, they always have some sort of thing they are invoking. Why is it always that? When you pay homage to it, as I've discussed before, when you go into the immaterial in your mind, the imaginary, when you go into that place to greet these gods, you must leave something there for them as a sacrifice and pull out from them that with which you are seeking, whatever god it happens to be, you know, in your ancient culture, whatever you needed. My crops, I would like to have a better crop season, so you find the right god and you leave to him the right offerings, and hopefully that will invoke something in you that allows you to manifest that into having, you know, the better crops. You're invoking some old god. Is it truly a god? Well, it feels like it, but I don't know. And that's kind of the path that Eris is having. I think in some way the path we're all having. Now, the reason I'm so iffy about Christianity is because that kind of, there's something different about that I don't necessarily understand. And remember how I told you I can't trust it? That's what I'm talking about. Like, though you might be able to find all of what I just said and have it work in Christianity if you like, pretty sure you could, because anything can fit if you want it to fit, right? As John Lennon said. But there's something in me that I'm just like, I don't know about that. Something feels different there that I can't necessarily grasp what that is right now. And so it's been kind of a journey for me to try to unravel all this shit, you know? Christianity has really wrapped its fingers around all of human consciousness. It is so hard to see what man is without it, because it's been there for what? It's had 2,000 years to reign free. It's really hard to break it loose from what humanity really is, you know? So I don't know how to do that right now, besides going back before it. So, I mean, that's why I'm always saying, like, yeah, I'm working on the book, but it's really tough for me right now, is because that's why it's tough. The shit we're trying to do isn't necessarily easy, where it's like everyone knows that this is what it is. It's incredibly easy to do this. It's not hard. Like, it's incredibly fucking hard. And I'm very lost in all of this, but many different realizations that I've come to have kind of helped me discover what this is about. Like, I've been led to this realization by the life that I've lived, the journals that I've made, the prophecies that I wrote for myself to rediscover in real time in the future. I've done it to this point. I've got myself here. I've answered the call, I hear it ringing in my head, and I'm constantly moving towards this new idea. I'm trying my best to create a new mythology for a new understanding of how possibly our minds work, and I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. Most likely have already. It's not easy because I'm doing it alone. In doing it alone, I may go wrong ways, and that's when I'm thinking, like, I gotta pause here because I gotta feel this shit. So today, when I was working on the descent into the labyrinth, I thought, are we going to the right place, or are we making another mistake? So I wanted to make this video and to say everything that's in here inside my mind to make sure, like, yeah, this makes sense, we have to do it. Because I have a tendency I need to say things out loud to make it happen. Whenever I think, it just doesn't work for me. Thinking isn't the greatest thing for me. I need to talk it out. And to me, it sounds like I have to do this. It's just not easy, you know? So, doing this, it's just been difficult. I know a lot of what I'm saying is either sounds harebrained, however you say that. I know it sounds absolutely nuts. Or it might sound stupid, or confused, or whatever. Give me some negative thing if you feel it. I could imagine that it comes across that way. But as I've been going down this road, I feel compelled to continue the journey. I have no other reason not to. Because I don't know what may lie ahead. This could be a big disaster leading to the biggest mistake I've made in a long time, or I could be onto something. And everything in between, you know. It's not easy to know what's coming and how to get there. But I really try my best to do justice to this story. You know, we set out to do this a long time ago. Me and the other guys, you know. None of us could really see where this was going. And as I've been working on the story, I wanted it to work in tandem with what we did together, our characters. But the more I realized that just simply cannot be. Eris's story is much too important than just some fucking, isn't it a fun fantasy thing that possibly has some deeper meaning that makes you think a little bit, you know. It's more than that. It's way more than that. That's the kind of fucking thing that I really have to make sure that I work my best at trying to convey. This is more than that. This is not just your average fucking story. Like, there's something compelling me to do this. And I've really got no other choice. I can't help but feel like I gotta do this. There's nothing I can say besides, let's keep going this way. And if it's wrong, well then, there you go. But if it's not wrong, that's when I start to wonder what's really going on. When you pull yourself from all of man's bullshit, and you walk away from everything that everyone's telling you should stay inside. Everyone wants you to stay in the cave and look at just like the allegory of the cave, look at the images playing out before you. They want to play the guessing game of what it all means with you. But you don't want to do that. You want to break free of the chains. You want to turn around and see that they're just men with puppets doing it before a fire, tricking you. You want to walk outside of the cave and see the real sun and the real world. And you want to explore that real world and finally feel that cold, clean air on you. This is what it takes. It's not following the path of someone else. Sometimes you have to go your own way. And to reach out into a new world, Sometimes it can be easy if you use archetypes. Again, like Nietzsche, or like Stoicism, or any other ism that the Romans and the Greeks invented of philosophy. You can do that if you want. Or you can go your way, and you can say, I want to find my own motherfucking way out of this. And people will not agree with it, because what happens in the allegory of the cave? You go down there and tell everyone that, no, the real butterflies and the rabbits aren't what you're seeing on this. They're outside. This is nothing. This is a simulation, I guess is the modern word for it. Back then it was like an illusion. And you're trying to tell them that, and they're like, you're fucking crazy. This is real, and that's all everyone's trying to do with you. In some way I had to accept that, and I had to accept that I'm going to be going it alone. That there's not going to be many people that understand what I'm doing or why I want to do it. And I just have come to terms with that. This is it. There's no one's going to get this. They're not going to understand what I'm trying to do here. They think they might, but they can't. How can they not? Because I'm the only one doing it. You know what I mean? And all I'm trying to do is chronicle this shit and put it inside a fucking story. So when I tell you about the labyrinth, I want you to find your fucking labyrinth of self. Figure it out for your own way. We are all Eris. It is all our journey. We have to tread forward. There's no other really explanation I can have for this. So hopefully that makes some sense to somebody. And if it doesn't, that's fine, you know. This work has truly taken me, you know. It's really, really taken me fully. Taking me on and on and on. And the deeper that I go, the more I realize I might be going it alone for quite a while. Golly, I'm tired. Anyway, man. I shall see you on the other side. We'll see what happens.